Hi, I'm Mira. Welcome to another story. Let's see where this one takes us. Amara Veil worked with precision, their fingers dancing over the delicate gears and glass of their newest creation. The workshop was quiet, save for the rhythmic ticking of clocks lining the walls. In the centre of the room, under the harsh glow of a single hanging lamp, sat the prototype, a crystalline device no larger than a palm. Its golden gears spun with mechanical elegance, and the grains of sand inside flowed upward in defiance of gravity. It wasn't the first time Amara had studied an hourglass. Every citizen was born with one embedded in their chest, their sands counting down the finite years of their life. But this prototype was different. It didn't just measure time, it manipulated it. Amara had done the unthinkable, creating something that could slow, pause, or even reverse the flow of life itself. The thought filled them with equal parts awe and dread. They turned the device over, watching the sands shift with each movement. If anyone else in the city found out about it, the overseers wouldn't just take the prototype, they'd take Amara's life. The overseers ruled the city with an iron grip, ensuring the balance of time by tightly controlling hourglasses. Amara had once believed in their system, but years of watching loved ones' sands run out while the powerful hoarded decades had shattered their faith. A knock at the door startled them, and the prototype nearly slipped from their hands. Amara scrambled to hide it beneath a pile of blueprints. "Who is it?" they called, their voice tight. The door creaked open to reveal a tall figure in a worn trench coat. Coren Drex, an enforcer for the overseers, stepped inside. Their hourglass glowed faintly through their shirt, its sand nearly depleted. They were a walking reminder of the system's cruelty, a loyal servant abandoned to time's inevitable march. Amara's chest tightened. "What do you want, Coren?" Relax," Coren said, closing the door behind them. "I'm not here on official business." "That's not reassuring." Coren smirked, but it didn't reach their eyes. "Word on the street is you've been working on something interesting. Something that might make certain people very nervous." Amara's heart pounded. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play coy," Coren said, stepping closer. "You're good, Veil, but you're not invisible. Someone saw you buying rare sands from the smuggler docks. Someone else mentioned the glow in your workshop at odd hours. Add it up and it's not hard to guess." Amara crossed their arms, trying to mask their panic. "If you're here to take me in, just do it." Coren's expression darkened. "I'm not here to arrest you. I'm here because I'm out of options. My sands are almost gone, and the overseers don't give extensions to people like me. If you've got something that can change that, we can help each other." Amara hesitated, their mind racing. They didn't trust Coren, but they knew the enforcer's reputation. If anyone could help them navigate the city's dangers, it was Coren. And if they refused, Coren might take the prototype by force, or worse, report them to the overseers. Amara sighed, their shoulders slumping. "Fine, but if we do this, it's on my terms." "Whatever keeps me breathing," Coren said, their smirk returning. "Now, show me what you've got." Amara reluctantly retrieved the prototype from its hiding place, holding it up for Coren to see. The device's glow bathed the room in soft light, its golden gears turning with mesmerizing precision. Coren's breath hitched. "You really made it." "It works," Amara said, their voice tinged with equal parts pride and fear. "But it's dangerous. The balance of time isn't something you can just ignore." Coren snorted. "Balance? That's just overseer propaganda. They hoard decades while the rest of us scrape by. Whatever this thing does, it's better than letting them control everything." Amara wanted to argue but couldn't. They knew Coren was right. Still, the potential consequences of using the prototype loomed large in their mind. Before they could respond, a sound outside the workshop made them freeze. A low scraping, followed by muffled voices. Coren's hand went to the knife at their belt, their expression hardening. "Looks like someone else heard about your little invention," Coren muttered. "We need to move. Now." Amara nodded, tucking the prototype into a pouch at their side. Together they slipped out through the workshop's back door, disappearing into the shadows of the city as the first rays of dawn crept over the skyline. The hunt had begun. The city's narrow alleys seemed to close in around them as Amara and Coren moved through the labyrinth of steel and stone. The early morning light struggled to reach the ground, casting the streets in perpetual twilight. Every sound, a distant shout, the clatter of boots, set Amara on edge. They clutched the pouch containing the prototype like a lifeline. "How did they find me so fast?" Amara whispered, their voice barely audible over the rhythmic tapping of their boots on cobblestones. Coren glanced back, their expression grim. Word travels fast when something like this is at stake. You've got two kinds of enemies now, those who want to sell your invention and those who'd rather see it destroyed. Amara's stomach churned. "What about the overseers?" Coren smirked, but it lacked humour. "They'll wait. They don't need to rush. The system's already rigged in their favour. They'll clean up once everyone else has done the messy work." Amara didn't find that reassuring. They reached the old industrial quarter, where factories loomed like skeletal giants. Coren led them into an abandoned foundry, its rusted doors creaking as they pushed inside. The air was thick with the smell of damp metal, and faint shafts of light streamed through broken windows, illuminating piles of scrap and forgotten machinery. "This'll buy us some time," Coren said, bolting the door behind them. They turned to Amara, their sharp eyes scanning the room. "Now tell me, how does this thing work?" Amara hesitated, their fingers brushing over the pouch. "It manipulates the sands," they said finally. "I've only tested it on myself, but I know it can slow the flow, maybe even reverse it. But using it is complicated." "Complicated how?" Coren asked, folding their arms. "The hourglasses aren't just measuring time," Amara explained. "They're tied to something bigger, something the overseers don't want us to understand. When I used the prototype, I felt it, like I was disrupting something." Coren's expression darkened. "And you didn't think that was worth mentioning earlier?" "I didn't think we'd get ambushed an hour later," Amara snapped, their frustration boiling over. "Do you think I want this chaos? I didn't build it to sell or hoard or—" Their argument was cut short by a loud crash from the other side of the foundry. Both froze, their eyes darting toward the sound. "Looks like we've got company," Coren muttered, drawing their knife. The attackers emerged from the shadows, a mix of scavengers and hired muscle. At their head was a wiry woman with a mechanical arm, her hourglass glowing faintly through the worn leather of her coat. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had cheated death more than once. "Clockmaker!" she called, her voice echoing through the cavernous space. "We're not here to hurt you. Hand over the device and we'll make sure it gets to the right people." Amara stepped back, their heart pounding. "I don't believe you." The woman sighed theatrically, raising her mechanical arm. "Suit yourself. Take them." Her crew surged forward, and chaos erupted. Coren met the first attacker with a swift strike, their blade flashing in the dim light. Amara scrambled behind a pile of machinery, their breath coming in short gasps as they clutched the prototype. They peeked out to see Coren holding their ground, but the enforcer was outnumbered, their movements slowing as the fight wore on. Amara's mind raced. They could run, but Coren wouldn't last long without help. The prototype could tip the scales, but at what cost? If they used it here, its power would be revealed to everyone. Another crash snapped them back to reality. One of the attackers spotted them and lunged. Amara barely dodged, their backs slamming against a rusted beam. The prototype slipped from their pouch and clattered to the ground, its golden gears catching the light. The woman with the mechanical arm froze, her eyes locking onto the device. "There it is," she breathed, a predatory smile spreading across her face. Amara's chest tightened. They dove for the prototype, grabbing it just as the woman's mechanical arm swung down. The blow missed by inches, sending sparks flying. Amara rolled to their feet, gripping the device tightly. "Enough!" they shouted, their voice echoing. The attackers hesitated, their eyes drawn to the glowing prototype. Even Coren paused, their chest heaving as they stood over an unconscious opponent. Amara held the device aloft, its hum filling the foundry. "I don't want to use this, but I will if you don't back off." The woman sneered. "You think you can scare us with that toy? You don't even know what it's capable of." Amara's hand trembled. "Maybe I don't, but do you want to find out?" The room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut. Finally, the woman raised her mechanical arm in a placating gesture. "Fine, you win this round." But this isn't over. She gestured to her crew, and they retreated, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. Amara collapsed against the nearest wall, the prototype still humming faintly in their hands. Coren approached, wiping blood from their knife. "Well," Coren said, their voice dry, "looks like your little invention's popular." Amara didn't laugh. "This is bigger than I thought." "No kidding." Coren sheathed their knife and offered a hand to help Amara up. "We need a plan, and fast. Whatever balance you're worried about, it's already broken." Amara and Coren didn't waste time. The woman's parting words, "This isn't over," echoed in Amara's mind as they slipped through the back streets of the industrial quarter, keeping to the shadows. The prototype weighed heavily in their pouch, its faint hum a reminder of the chaos they had unleashed. "We can't outrun this," Coren muttered as they scanned their surroundings. "The overseers, scavengers, mercenaries, they're all going to come for you." "For that thing?" Amara tightened their grip on the strap of their pouch. "So what do we do?" "Destroy it!" Coren stopped short, turning to face Amara with a glare. "You don't get it, do you? That device isn't just some trinket. It's leverage. You destroy it, and you lose any chance of controlling what happens next." Amara's frustration bubbled to the surface. "And keeping it puts a target on my back! On your back!" Coren's expression softened, but only slightly. "The target's already there. The question is how you use it." The pair ducked into an old storage building, its dusty interior offering temporary refuge. Amara dropped onto a crate, their hands shaking as they pulled the prototype from the pouch. The golden gears spun as if alive, the grains of sand inside flowing, their endless, mesmerizing spiral. "I built this to help people," Amara murmured, more to themselves than to Coren. "Not to start a war." Coren leaned against the door, their knife resting loosely in their hand. "Well, you did both. Now what?" Amara stared at the device, their mind racing. They thought of the woman with the mechanical arm, the overseer's iron grip on the hourglass system, and the people they'd watched lose their sands while the powerful lived comfortably. Coren was right. Destroying the prototype wouldn't fix the system, but neither would keeping it hidden. The gears spun faster, and the hum grew louder, as if sensing Amara's turmoil. "What if I use it?" Amara asked, their voice trembling. "Not to hide or sell it, but to show everyone what it can do. Break the system open." Coren frowned. "You think that'll stop the overseers? They'll crack down harder than ever." "Maybe," Amara admitted. "But if people see what's possible, they'll fight back. They won't settle for this system anymore." Coren sighed, running a hand through their hair. "You're either brilliant or insane. Maybe both." Before Amara could respond, the faint sound of footsteps echoed outside. Coren tensed, their knife flashing into a defensive grip. "We've got company!" The attackers struck faster this time, their coordination sharper. The door slammed open, and a group of masked figures poured in, their weapons glinting in the dim light. Coren lunged forward, meeting the first wave with brutal efficiency. Amara scrambled back, clutching the prototype as they searched for a way out. "Amara!" Coren shouted, fending off two attackers at once. "Go! No!" Amara yelled, "I'm not leaving you!" Coren cursed under their breath, delivering a swift blow to one attacker before turning to block another. "Then do something!" Amara's eyes darted to the prototype, its glow intensifying as the gears spun faster. Their mind raced. The device could manipulate sands, slow time, maybe even reverse it. They had seen it work. But could they control it? And what would happen if they couldn't? Another attacker closed in, and Amara made their decision. They pressed the device to their chest and twisted the central gear. "Time fractured!" The world around them slowed to a crawl, the attackers' movements becoming sluggish and dreamlike. Coren froze mid-swing, their blade poised inches from an attacker's throat. Amara staggered, the prototype's hum vibrating through their chest as the sands within began to flow faster, then backward. They turned to Coren, whose hourglass glowed faintly beneath their shirt. The sands inside moved differently now, no longer trickling toward the bottom, but flowing back toward the top. Amara's breath hitched. It was working. But the prototype wasn't finished. The glow intensified, spreading outward in rippling waves. The attackers stumbled, their hourglasses reacting violently. Some sands stopped, others surged, and a few shattered entirely, the glowing shards scattering like embers. The energy grew overwhelming, and Amara ripped the prototype from their chest, slamming it against the ground. The crystal casing cracked, the gears grinding to a halt as the glow faded. Time snapped back into place. The attackers, dazed and confused, staggered back, their cohesion broken. Coren didn't hesitate, striking swiftly and driving the remaining assailants out. When the last of them fled, the room fell silent, save for the sound of Coren's laboured breathing. Amara sank to the floor, staring at the shattered remains of the prototype. "It's gone," they whispered, their voice hollow. Coren knelt beside them, placing a steadying hand on their shoulder. "You saved us. At what cost?" Amara asked, tears stinging their eyes. "I built this to change things. Now it's just gone." Coren's expression softened. "You proved it could be done. That's enough to scare the overseers and maybe inspire a few people." Amara looked up, their resolve hardening. Coren was right. The prototype was gone, but the knowledge remained. The fight wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Thanks for listening. If the story stuck with you, come back next time for another journey.